Hello gamers and welcome to today's YouTube video. Welcome to the Extra channel where we're going to reform it a little bit. We're going to be using this for more in-depth videos such as the rants, such as the masterclass videos, or anything that is more in detail. That will be the purpose of this channel. I hope you guys will enjoy it as well. As you guys may have seen already, and as has been rumored in recent times, has now been confirmed by the common test article released by Wargaming today. They're going to be buffing a few TDs and nerfing one. So the 268 is getting a pretty big buff all across the board. Aiming time, gun depression, dispersion, survivability, suspension, repair time, engine durability, engine power, power to weight, hull traverse. This is a very big buff for the 268, which will make it very much more comfortable to play in general as well. Now, as you can see, the Hori is being nerfed as well, and this is a pretty, nerf, and we can talk about this as well a little bit. The Hori, does it deserve to be nerfed? Yes, guys, it does. I will say it's not super popular, but this tank is super, super powerful. So it's losing some dispersion, some suspension durability, some suspension repair time, reverse speed, which was one of its greatest strength actually, and some view range. So not all in all the biggest of changes to the tank, but it will be noticeable. The next up, the U4 also getting some buffs. Aiming time, turret reverse, suspension durability, suspension repair time, engine durability, reverse speed, engine power, power to weight, horizontal aiming. So a lot of stuff there that is getting changed on it as well. Will make it more comfortable to play, but not the biggest amount of changes in the world. So now that we've covered tier 10, I think it's important to cover the tier 9s as well. Object 704, shot dispersion, aiming time, shot dispersion, aiming time. On the different guns that it has, I think overall, when we're going through this, that these kind of tanks, and I'll elaborate on this later on in the video, as much as I'm going to disapprove of buffing any tier 10s, I understand the tier 9s. And the place is, let's put it this way, any buffs to tier 9s is okay ammo, because tier 9, and you'll see it later, is a lot better well distributed than tier 8 and tier 10. So that's okay. Buffing tier 8s, again, I don't approve of it, because there's already a problem with the distribution. It's interesting how it works, but yeah. So going through it, there's busted entire lines. I think it's most important to know the things that I don't agree with. T30 buff, I actually agree with it. Again, tier 9, it's fine for me because it's there too. T28 prototype, okay, the tank is so disaster that deserves it as well. Yak Tiger, any buff to that is good. However, I think it's still buffing the wrong thing on the Yak Tiger. I think you want to be buffing the superstructure a little bit and not any other of the parameters, but that's just me. Same thing for the Ferdinand. I think well, it does get a frontal armor increase. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but then this I do not agree with. The Hori 1 does not deserve to be nerfed. As much as the Hori 3 is overperforming, I don't think that the Hori 1 is a tank that should be nerfed. And I know this is like really left right in terms of opinions, but to be in line, to make this gun even more derpy is not needed. The Hori 1, if you've ever played it compared to the Hori 3 is a big step up. So that I don't agree with. And then last but not least, guys, of course, they're absolutely going to be butchering. They're going to be absolutely butchering the Cheeto SP, which is well deserved. You can see here a whole list of nerfs to the Cheeto, and honestly, that one is very much deserved. And I'll come again to my point, which is not really related to this video, but in general, I feel like these changes are too slow. How long has the Cheeto SP been OP for? How long has it been a problem for? How long have we known that it's been a problem, and only now are we tackling the problem? These changes, for me, are just not fast enough. But anyways, let's get into the main part of the video. Now, however, we get to the real point of this video. We saw those little buffs, we saw those little nerfs. Let's talk about what do I think. I think that it's really, really weird to me that we are currently buffing tank destroyers. And now, while I'm not debating that those tank destroyers may be needing their buffs and maybe deserving of such a thing, I will, however, reference back to this picture. This is tier 10 battles by vehicle type in the past 30 days. And we can see here that, in my opinion, and I hope this is shared by very, very many people, that tank destroyers are currently overrepresented in the matchmaker. In my opinion, heavy tanks should be your bulk. They're the meat, they're the ones that fill most positions on the map, and the rest of the tanks play around it. Now, a support class technically like tank destroyers, and yeah, I understand that DBV has a big impact on this as well, but before the DBV, it was the Grilla that was super popular. We'll get into that later. Representing 34% of tier 10 battles is an extreme number. While 10% doesn't seem like too much, it really is a huge, huge amount of tank destroyers. That's why I also do not understand what is happening right now. And this is where the rant part comes in. I don't understand why we are even considering buffing TDs, any TD at this moment in time. The recent decision making from Wargaming has led us to this point where I am playing tier 10 recently a lot, and the battles are atrocious. The composition of the battles is disgusting, to be honest. I don't know how else to explain it. That's why I completely disagree with the move here to buff tank destroyers. I don't think we need more people to go to tank destroyers at this moment in time. Now, if this was done after the tested MM completed and was introduced and it was a success, okay, go all for it. Because again, I'm not arguing that these tank destroyers are not underperforming and can do with this kind of a buff. I'm arguing with the timing of it. I do not believe that this is the time to be buffing TDs. What we have had in the last few months has been a series of decisions that has led this influx of more tank destroyers. The 100,000 DBVs that have been released, I don't know. I don't think it has been a good thing for the MM whatsoever. As somebody that plays quite a little bit of tier 10 MM, I'm speaking about tier 10 MM. But then following up the release of the FV215B 183 into the bond shop. Now, those two things together have created an unhealthy situation, in my opinion. And what do I mean by this? I mean something like this. This is what I'm talking about currently in World of Tanks at tier 10 MM, and it can be still a lot worse than this. This is not something out of the ordinary anymore. When you look at this, you can see that in this battle, IMAU 100 was the only heavy tank against a Kranwagen. And then the bulk of other tanks is tank destroyers, lights, and artillery. I don't think this is good. I do not believe this is good. And this was on EU1 for reference as well. And even within Wargaming's parameters, it's not far away from being acceptable. This is 6 TDs. They accept 5 TDs. We have currently too many TDs. Here I was playing my TD myself, but a similar story. 2 heavy tanks and then a whole bunch of other unenjoyable things. 3 FVs on the enemy team, a DBV. This is a whole lot of stuff that is just not very healthy for the game whatsoever, in my opinion. And because of that, we have what we see here, this picture, the distribution of tank destroyers. To elaborate a little bit further on the Hori, though, if we see the Hori, we can see that it's not the most popular tank in the world, but it's a very, very high performing tank, though, with rocking the highest win ratio. And it's weird though, because, you know, this Hori nerf, while this one is deserved, and as much as I'm saying that we shouldn't be buffing tank destroyers, I also don't think we should be nerfing tank destroyers too much either. It's a hard equation there. I would look more towards making other classes more popular again, or enforcing a harder limit on the amount of tank destroyers per battle to, well, it's kind of like, you know, you're twisting their wrist, like you're forcing them almost to switch tanks. Probably this is not something Wargaming considers as a good move, but you can see Hori is like somewhere in the middle of the pack, not even that popular, to be honest. So in terms of like problematic, is the Hori really problematic? No. Would I have actually nerfed the Hori myself if I had to think about it? No, I don't think I would, to be honest. I don't think I would. And this is the funny part also in tank destroyers, is that some of the best tank destroyers in the game are the least popular in a way. The BZTD is an amazing tank destroyer. The Forge B is an amazing tank destroyer. And the Hori is also an amazing tank destroyer. Now, I think that's because also these are a lot more facilitating to play. You can sit back, you can shoot, etc., etc. But still, I probably wouldn't have nerfed the Hori. I don't really agree with it. What I do agree with, though, is Cheeto SP nerfs, because I think we can all agree that tank is ridiculously overpowered. Right? I think that's understandable. So the decision here, I'm not sure what it is based on. Probably just some server stats on performance. But as much as I don't want them to buff anything, I don't want them to nerf anything. I'm not entirely sure about what the solution would be for the amount of tank destroyers that's currently in the MM when I think about it. And in my vision, in my mind, maybe we should be looking at making other classes more popular, like heavy tanks, and what we can do to facilitate that while working with limits on the amount of tank destroyers. The one thing that I would really rework one way or another is the FV. I'm terribly sorry, guys. Like I said, I think it is a very toxic and unhealthy tank for the MM currently. Now, when we take a look here at the most played tanks, right, in the last 30 days, and we start off at tier 10, some things really stand out. DBV, FV, Gorilla is your top 3 most played tanks. After that, you have Leo, Batchan, and the Object 261, followed by the 183. Then you have the EBR, then you have the E50, and only then you have the very first heavy tank. Before you even reach the second heavy tank, which is the E100, you have more IDs, more light tanks, and even 2 TDs in the mix. Only then you will start finding other heavy tanks. This is an oversaturation of those tank destroyers. I'm going to continue to rant because I do want to know if you agree with me on the point that I'm making, that right now is not the time to be buffing TDs. It is just not the time. They are already popular enough as it is. Sure, they may be concentrated on certain tanks, but that gets us into the second issue. The FV and the 183, in my opinion, are not healthy tanks for the game. As much as I understand that playing them is very funny, haha, one shot, brr, dopamine hit, it is, for the general battle, not healthy, the amount we have right now. We have more than one, in my opinion, from my feeling. There's more than one per side, per battle. Whether it's a 183 or a regular FV, it's not good. It's the same thing for the DBV. Numerous DBVs is not good for the battle either, for the health of the battle. But the FV has that extra little toxic trait to it, where it does damage even without penetrating, which is another issue with it. It's still unpredictable, even with the HE changes. I've been getting hit by an FV for 300. I've also been getting hit by an FV for 1,000. Now, can I predict how much damage I'm going to take? No. Is that good for the battle? Probably no. Let me know if you agree with that, because I know the FV is very popular. I personally do think it's very, very unhealthy for current World of Tanks. And that's why I also don't think we should be buffing more tank destroyers. We do not need to lead more people towards camping tank destroyers, of which en masse ruin battles by itself, because there are no positions for it, and it leaves the few combat tanks in an impossible situation where they have nothing to fight and end up then getting shot by these tank destroyers, which then leads to them playing the tank destroyers themselves, because why would they play a heavy and try to brawl if there is nothing to brawl against to begin with? Now, when we check tier 9, it's a lot better already. The Waffenträger is the only TD in the top 3. We see the artillery problem reoccur, but outside of that, it's a lot of tank it's a lot of medium tanks, even some heavy tanks that are very popular and played throughout. That's pretty good. So we really see the problem at tier 10 and then reoccur back at tier 8, which of course has its own problems. I think we all know about that. Even 90 is a problem as well. But then again, you have a bunch of tank destroyers. Anyways, back to my original point of TDs. I do not believe that currently in World of Tanks, we should be buffing tank destroyers. I think, like I said, that's the conclusion as well for this video. I think that buffing tank destroyers is something that should be done only and after the MM tests have been concluded, after the MM has been put into place, if successful, and the numbers of tank destroyers per battle can be managed. Because I myself, and I've asked other people as well to make sure that I'm not alone, at tier 10 recently, have found it very, very hard to enjoy myself because of the composition of the battles. You the viewer, I want you to let me know if you agree. Very recently, when I'm playing tier 10, I am getting a lot of these 2 IDs, 2 lights, 5 TDs, and then whatever else is left. And I'm going to be honest, it's most of the time not really enjoyable. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with the fact that right now is not the time to be buffing TDs, no matter how much, how little it is, how deserving, but this should be done in a more orderly manner, because this is the 3rd decision in a row pushing people towards dinosaurs. DBV, 183, TD buffs, I am personally not a fan. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you enjoyed this rant video as well. And I hopefully will see you guys all on the very next one. Thank you for chilling. Have a good day. Good job.